we can give what is a transformational versus transactional leadership. But I think there are few examples are very, very clear, and that will help you understand the whole meaning. Instead of really giving you definitions, I like to show you pictures. If you look at our current president, Donald Trump, what do you call him? A transformational or transactional leadership? No, some might say that he is very visionary. He's taking nation to a different level. He want to bring in, all the manufacturing industry back. He want to really bring USA to a leading position. I don't want to get into the politics, but I'm going to share with you certain strategies or tactics, more tactics and strategies he's playing that really make him more of a transactional leadership model than a transformational leader. So, for example, he really boasts about lots of things. Well, by the way, people who boast about a lot of things are more transactional leaders because they really like to focus on me versus us. So that is really one definition of transactional leader. And the other thing is that these leaders don't think of the consequence of their tactic. They are really very focused on, their task on hand instead of the consequence of the task or the tactic. For example, Donald Trump is really boasting about that he really went in to European Union and he increased their share from 2% to 5% of GDP for the Ukraine war because they were paying only 2% of their GDP to USA, so to speak, for all the ammunition and all that. But now he brought them to 5% unilaterally, and he didn't really give them much choice, and he's very happy about it. What do you call it? A transaction? A transformation? Of course, this is a win, but this really created a lot of rift. It's not really a very strategic move. So, my humble opinion that if people have their way and when things change and other forces come into play, for example, China is rapidly growing economy, then what do you think their alliance would be with the United States or going with other countries? So likewise, there are, like this whole trade war. This whole trade war, even going after Canada, our very strategic partner, going after China and then backing out, going after India, going after all those countries. On one hand, I understand that he brought, more money and some, more leverage to United States. But at the same time, what are the consequence of those transactions, of those tactics? So when you use tactics and not having a long-term strategy behind it, then that really make you win on the transaction, but does not really help you transform the mindset. And people do not see your long-term vision. Maybe you don't have a long-term vision, so then hence you become a transactional leader. Now, on the other hand, I mean, again, we are not talking about politics. We're talking about only some figures where you can, really draw some conclusions. If you take the example of Elon Musk, he has his eyes on a long-term vision. So he basically is, going to space, and he has certain, goals in which he basically have a plan to achieve, all those things. So that make these type of people as transformational leader because they have a vision, long-term vision, and then they build a strategy, a long-term strategy. And in that case, if they lose, if they have to back out, like you know uh, Elon went onto Trump's bandwagon and he took government position and then he back out because his long-term vision was not working, and he backed out and he liked to go back to his long-term plan. Likewise, I would call Abraham Lincoln or JF Kennedy or even Ronald Reagan, those as, transformation leaders because they really had a vision and they were able to, share their vision with their people. and hence bring people to their vision, and they were able to execute and become like like a historic figure who people remember, and they have a huge legacy. Now, of course, all leaders try to have a legacy and want to really leave a good legacy for sure. But then, you know, some people are so tunnel vision and they're so focused on their instant gratification. So that's another way to figure out that whether somebody is a transactional or transformational leader, that they basically, focused on small instant gratification, small wins, instead of thinking what those small wins bring, because that may bring long-term loss. So that's where a transformation leader comes to play, that he or she think of long-term consequences, and they may not have instant gratification, but they will have a much bigger win in the long run. And that's the reason people say you may lose a battle but win a war. But some people do not understand the difference between battle and war. Another example I'll give you, and then I'll move on to you know practical implementation of that leadership into our different industries. So there is another leader in Pakistan named Imran Khan. People who know that side of the world, that he was a prime minister and now he's in jail for very false accusations. But people who put him in jail, who are in charge, like the army chief and some of his his allies, they may be winning battles, but unfortunately, they're losing the war of winning people's heart. Whereas Imran Khan, even though he's in jail for almost 2 years, but anytime he called people, hundreds of thousands of people come out on the street, even though he's in jail. But whenever, all the other parties together even want to call people, they cannot even, put few thousand people in any of their meetings. So that really tells you what really a transformation leader is, that a transformation leader have a long-term vision, and then they, even when they negotiate, they have, like I told you, three-dimensional negotiation. They don't focus on tactics only. They look at the strategy, and their strategy is based on technical foundation. And that's the reason they are able to develop internal benchmark, because what problem they're trying to solve, they identify that clearly, and then they basically build an internal benchmark. So whatever goal they have in mind, they have an internal benchmark for that. So that is an easy way for people to see and understand their vision and help them achieve that vision. Just like I'm showing you these pictures, these are not political figures in my mind. They are pictures which you can model, which you can put in your mind, and then figure out whether somebody is a transactional leader or transformational leader. A transformational leader always see the glass half full, and then they like to give that positive attitude to people and motivate them based on their strengths, and have them learn from their shortcomings. So uh, so these are really the examples of some of the people we see around, but that really happens every single day in our daily life, in our home, or in our place of work, or in our businesses, that there are people at each level. It doesn't have to be a leader, doesn't have to be having this the top job. Sometimes you see people in the line are better leaders, they have better leadership qualities, they are better up that such of upbringing. I don't believe the leaders are born. Yes, it's the environment. I mean, if they are born in an environment with certain parents who have certain characteristics, now they learn those characteristics early on in their life, and then we say leaders are born. They are not really born. People are all have abilities. Some have certain type of abilities, some have some other type of abilities, and then the environment shape them in such a way that they are able to deliver. They have a different efficiency, different productivity, different mindset. you see there are some people, no matter what you do, they just look at glass half empty and they are negative and bitter about life. There are some other people who always find something, positive in their life. I remember an example somebody was giving, that there was an old lady in a very small village, and she was very poor, but she was very positive about everything she had in life, even though she was very, very poor. And one day, some youngsters got together and they went to one of their friends who happened to be the best in class, and very sharp person, and he would win every debate. And they challenged them, saying, you know what, if you go to that lady and make her say anything negative, we will give you whatever you want. He said, oh, that's no big deal. He goes to that old lady in a small corner in the village. She's sitting in a very, poor neighborhood, in not very lavish life. And he asked her, he said, you know what do you think about Satan? Because, Satan is an evil power. And he thought that she couldn't say anything about Satan. And she said, I don't know everything about him, but I know one thing, that he's very persistent. From the beginning of this universe, what we know of Satan, our evil power, that evil power is there and very persistent. And if Satan is a person, that, he's very consistent, because he hasn't backed out. So at least this is really, amazing about him, that if we become that persistent, that we probably can beat him. So look, even in Satan, she was able to find something positive. So people who think positive, they can find something positive in anything in life. So, and then those are the people, then they build models. And then they build the model, then they are able to show that model, which is in thin air. And we know that a lot of things in the air which we don't see, that doesn't mean that they're not there. We know that there is a lot in this air. I mean, in this day and age, I don't need to explain. But then, of course, different type of waves are going through the air, different, you know, there's different magnetism, there's different type of, life in the air, but not everybody can see. And then sometimes some people can see with naked eyes, and some people can see with, some tools. So, it's important that that leader who's a transformation leader, he or she have a vision, and then build a benchmark, a model. And that model could be, a physical model, or metaphor. And that's the reason when you tell a story, then that stays for a longer period of time, because we understand images better than we understand words. And that's the reason I gave you the examples in the beginning, that basically you need to create the image of that goal. So you need to, that's the reason Jim Collin always say, first who, then what. Let's get the right people to the bus, and then let's ask them where to go. So we always need to have the right company, and then in that right company, then they decide where, what's our goal. In other words, what I like to say is that whenever, we feel we are trying to solve a problem, we should first identify what is the problem or what's the opportunity, and then how do we really go there. And that is really a transformational leader, that he or she has a vision, very, very long term vision, see far away in the future. And then they are able to show, people, that what is that vision, what is the goal, what is the success look like. And then when people see that it's success and they started envisioning it, then they get motivated, and then they march toward it with a lot of force. And that's really a difference between a transformational leader, a transactional leader. A transactional leader may use tactics and may create some win, but at the same time, he may actually hurt many hearts. He may win the mind a little bit, but may not win the hearts. And then whenever the time comes, then unfortunately, that he or she will lose all the momentum. Whereas a transformation leader continuously increasing the momentum. If you see a life of transformation leader, you will see bump in the road, but you will see overall in the life, you will always see them creating more and more momentum. And even after their life, you will see even more momentum. So I'll give you a quick couple of examples that even, people come to me, even, if some people want to buy a house, and there's so many people who come to me and they're thinking very transactional, and they're saying, well, we want to buy this, that, specification house, and we see ABC, and that ABC fit our bill for sure. But then they have a much bigger vision. They want A, B, C, D, E, F, but then they settle with A, B, C based on their budget. That's okay. I don't blame them. But what they fail to see, they do not see their futuristic need, and also the hidden problem the house they are going to buy. I was just talking to somebody yesterday, and then they came to me 5 years ago. They said, we want to buy $1 million home. And I told them that I had a $1.3 million home and they should look at. And they said, we can't afford it. And, we need to buy. And then they end up actually buying $1.25 million home on the very, very busy street, which has lots of other problems. And you're not going to believe it. Within a year, now they're trying to sell that home because they did not envision that how it will be almost impossible for their young family to survive in such a rush area, because they are now worried about safety. Now they're trying to buy another house and looking at the same thing. And I was talking to them because I was saying it's very important you see things which are hidden sometimes, things which are not visible, and also think about your futuristic need. Now, sometimes we have the resources. If we don't have it, I understand. But sometimes you have the resources. You must see what are the futuristic needs of your family, because then you don't have to, keep. Actually, they end up losing money on the first house they bought, and now they are, trying to buy a second house, and yet they might be making somewhat similar mistakes. So it's very important to have a right vision. See, for example, when I build luxury homes, I think of what are going to be the trends. I like to find the trends in the future. And I also like to see what codes are coming in the future. So the house I'm building, even 5 years from now, that house does not get obsolete or does not get, lesser of a value because of using, old codes, or not having the futuristic trends. Like, for example, I saw this trend 20 years ago that if I always build in laws section on the first floor of a house, and I have like a full bathroom and a bedroom on first floor, even if I have four-bedroom upstairs, because the trend is really four-bedroom minimum. And then I added this five-bedroom, and I didn't even call it a fifth bedroom, and I give that without extra charge. But that really differentiated me, that I was the only builder who was offering first floor in-laws type section, a full bedroom with a closet, with a full bathroom instead of a half bathroom, instead of a powder room. I'm offering full bathroom with Jack and Jill, so it's doing two in one. And that really gave me a unique feature, hence gave me, a better standing in the market. But at the same time, it gives the families their need, which was going to arrive in the future as people are getting older and their in-laws are coming living with them and all that kind of good stuff. Likewise, I like to build every single house with walkout basement. I like to add certain type of insulation which may not be required by the code. There are a lot of other things I do because I'm thinking in the future, and I'm also talking to many people and understanding that what are going to be the trends. Now, likewise, the same thing was in the manufacturing, that are in the service industry. Every single time I have negotiated any contract in my life, I always build an internal benchmark, that what would that widget or that service will cost me if I would have to acquire or hire those people, and or maybe even third party people, and whether that is even to do an implementation or a software development, or a management service, are building a widget, a sub-assembly, a product, you may say that's crazy that you think that you can build an internal benchmark. But that is really the beauty that I always trained my folks to build an internal benchmark. And a lot of time you have a lot of help available from your supply base. You can train yourself and develop those domain expertise. And then if you do that, now you have a much better discussion even with your third party vendors. And now you are training and teaching each other. And honestly, then I see that even my supply base, not only the first year, but second and third tier supply base was able to understand and learn from my process, and they were able to do that on their on the first year, and the first year helped the second year, and the second tier helped the third tier. Hence the entire supply chain became very network, very efficient. And then we were able to reduce, of course, the cost, but also we were able to reduce the time to market. We were able to reduce the cash cycle. We were able to reduce the inventory. We were able to increase the customer satisfaction. We were able to increase the fill rate. A lot of those things we were able to do because we were able to develop that internal benchmark, and we were able to show and share that vision in terms of actual benchmark to our supply base. So it's very important that you think of those values, and some of those values are not only vision, but also not taking no for an answer. The easy answer is take no. No is always an easy answer. I've always see, especially when you're going to ask something new like internal benchmark, but the answer is no, we don't have this capability. But turning no to yes in a very strategic way is transformational. Likewise, these people, these leaders, they are fearless. They don't have a fear. They are not afraid of being, they're not afraid of losing. If you don't have that, that strength, that okay, you will lose, you should be able to, face your challenges, your loss as well. But then those challenges may have opportunities hidden in there. And then of course, you make sure that you are keep disseminating this vision, this values, these technical expertise to not just your own team, but the entire network. So the entire network is, collaborated. So everybody's winning, and hence you are not transforming just your family or your friends or your company, but the entire network, because that is your true success and your true legacy, when your entire network can benefit from your vision. If you are thinking that, oh no, nobody should know this, we only, that they will lose, then unfortunately you are not a transformational leader, and you do not have the right strengths and capabilities. If you have right strengths and capabilities, trust me, you will not be causing competition. Matter of fact, you will always be rising above the competition. You will always be ahead of the game. And even your competition will like you because you are making them better by keep coming up with this new ideas. Because one thing is true, that nobody can steal your knowledge and your capabilities. Your knowledge is one thing which actually increase by sharing. So I would say, let's keep sharing our knowledge and best practices, and hopefully, we'll continue this dialogue, and I'll learn from your questions and comments. Feel free to put your comments, and we'll come back to us with other set of best business practices next week. With that, have a great day.